Hello, welcome to our Know Your Rights session. My name is Karina. I'm the Program and Communications Manager here at the Center for Immigrant Progress. Before we dive in, I do want to introduce the Center for Immigrant Progress. The Center for Immigrant Progress is a grassroots organization. We focus on empowering the diverse immigrant communities here in Lake County, Illinois, and we do this through many different things. One of those being providing scholarships to undocumented students, connecting community members to resources, informing our community about different policies, as well as hosting community events that are centered around the immigrant experience. So we focus on a lot of storytelling through different avenues such as our podcast, our Facebook Lives, and other informational video campaigns. So we understand that these conversations can be sensitive and even feel a little bit intimidating. So we really value having a digital community, an inclusive digital community. And so we host online events as well, and to ensure that we are creating a safe and accessible space where our community members can engage with our content in ways that feels most comfortable to them. And so hence our virtual Know Your Rights session. So we do understand that there are a lot of fears in the community right now. Many other organizations are doing their own Know Your Rights sessions in person, and a lot of people are not showing up. Again, there's a lot of fear in our community right now. And so we figured it would be a good opportunity for us to create a pre-recorded version in both English and Spanish. So if you do have any questions about anything that we talk about, please let us know. Give us a comment, or you can reach out to us. So now we can get started. So this is more so for when we do it in person, but I still want to ask, you can always share in the comments if you've ever attended a Know Your Rights workshop. I think every Know Your Rights workshop can be a little bit different, but most of them have some of the same basics. We also want to know what brings you here. We know sometimes it's for yourself, right? Other people attend for their family's sake, or if you work with an organization, you might come to get information for your clients. So it can be different for everybody. And then lastly, we're wondering what you hope to gain from this presentation. Okay, so let's start off by talking about the terminology, the different types of words that are used when talking about immigrants. So the first word is undocumented. So this refers to anyone who is residing in any country without the legal documentation. So this includes people who have entered the United States without proper inspection or proper permission from the government to come in. And it also includes those who have entered with a legal visa that is no longer valid or that has expired, essentially. Then we have documented. So this refers to undocumented people who have been granted DACA, aka Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. Then we have mixed status families. So these are situations where a person is a U.S. citizen or a legal permanent resident and has family members who are undocumented, or the individual is undocumented and has family members who are U.S. citizens or legal permanent residents. Basically, it just means people in the family have different immigration statuses. Then we have the word dreamer. So dreamer refers to people who are a part of the DREAM Act era, which is from 2001, and who identify with that movement. Then we have immigrant. So, an immigrant in general is a person living in a country other than that they were born in. An immigrant can be legal or undocumented. So, the reasons why people migrate vary greatly, from environmental displacement, war and violence in their home country, and then just seeking better economic opportunities. Um, and then the last two words, illegal and alien, we ask that you do not use these words. The terms illegal and alien are racially charged slurs that have been historically used to discriminate against people of color. So we just ask that you don't use these words. So, other terminology, ICE and CBP. So, ICE and CBP are agencies that enforce immigration law. They're a part of the Department of Homeland Security. Um, so, ICE stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So, they enforce immigration law at the border as well as in the interior of the United States. CBP, Customs and Border Protection, also enforces immigration law near and at the border. Um, in a 100 air mile radius. This also includes the ports of entry like airports. So we'll talk a little bit about them later. So one of the most important things to know is how to prepare. We all should be prepared, right? Doesn't mean anything is going to happen, but it's better to be prepared. So one of the most important things you can do is to gather important documents such as your alien registration number, birth certificates, yours and your children's, if you have any immigration documents, social security, I-10, passport, driver's license. Also gather important phone numbers such as that of your school, the schools of your children that they attend, any emergency caregivers for children, emergency contacts, right? Both here in the United States and in your home country. Your employer, any nonprofit organizations that support immigrants, any legal service providers, all that good stuff. So, other things to do to prepare is one, to create a family plan. This is especially important if you have children. So, you have to decide who is going to be the caregiver of your children, who's going to take care of your children if you are detained or deported. So, there are some legal documents that can help you and can help the person you choose to be the caregiver for your children. So, there's a caregiver authorization affidavit. So this allows the caregiver to take care of her kids, take them to school, take them to the doctor, all that kind of stuff. And this one does not require an attorney. I believe you just need to fill out the form and get a notary to sign it. We'll talk about that in the resources section. There's also temporary guardianship. This is a legal arrangement that gives someone the authority to care for a child for a year or less. So this, you do need an attorney. I also forgot to mention for the caregiver authorization affidavit, that is for a year, 365 days. Power of attorney. A power of attorney gives the caregiver the power to make decisions that a parent would make for their child. So this is like if they go to the doctor and they need a surgery or something, that gives them the authority to make a decision for the child. There's legal guardianship, which is a more permanent option. It's a more extreme option. This would mean essentially that you have less rights to make the decisions for your children, and that right would go to the caregiver. We recommend that you speak with an attorney before pursuing this avenue. And then we have an emancipation petition. So this is for children age 16 or 17. This essentially lets them to stay and manage things on their own without a guardian. So in circumstances where they would need a guardian or a parent to give them permission or sign off on something, if they're emancipated, they don't need that. So they would be able to be on their own, legally speaking. Then we also recommend that you save money. So things will get expensive if you are detained or deported. There will be the legal fees, travel expenses, childcare expenses if you have children, and funds to use when you're back home in your home country. So, we will be giving you guys some information about local resources that can help you with this part of how to prepare. All right, so to get started on the Know Your Rights, we've broken it up into sections. So, this first one is at home. So at home, you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to refuse to let ICE into your home, keep your door closed, um, unless they have a warrant signed by a judge, which we'll talk about later. So ask them for the warrant through the window. They can show it to you through the window or have them slide it under the door. You have the right to say no if they want to search your body. You have the right to refuse to show any documents or sign any documents before talking to a lawyer. If you do decide that you will answer their questions, don't lie. Do not share any personal information, right? Yours or a loved one's. And if you feel safe in the interaction, you can record with your phone. If you have a gate or a fence around your property, make sure you keep that shut and locked and your door locked. Again, do not let them in to your home. Do not open the door unless they have a warrant. So at work, a lot of it is the same. Again, remaining silent. You can refuse, you can say no if they want to search your body. You can refuse to sign or show any documents before talking to a lawyer. Do not lie. Do not share personal information. If you feel safe, record. It would also be helpful if you created a plan with your workplace. If you feel comfortable enough, um, make sure that your emergency contact is updated. Um, I would say that is the most important part. And also have a discussion with your supervisor about certain areas in your workplace. ICE is not allowed to enter private areas in workplaces. So, like the break room and stuff like that, they are not allowed to go in there without a warrant. So, keeping that in mind and talking to your supervisor about what is considered a private area in your workplace. In public, again, a lot of it is the same. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to say no if they want to search you. Record if you feel safe. Big one, do not run. Do not run away. Before you walk away, ask if you are free to go. Ask, am I free to go? Do not carry foreign ID with you. Uh, don't lie. And again, don't share your immigration status. In your car. So in your car, you will have to share your name and your driver's license, and of course, your car registration and insurance. But other than that, you have the right to remain silent to any other questions. You have the right to say no if they want to search your body or your vehicle. If you feel safe, record. Again, same as if you were in public. Ask if you are free to go before you go. Again, do not carry foreign ID. Do not provide false documentation or lie. Do not share your status. Police encounters. So, in Illinois, police cannot ask you about your immigration status. So, if they do ask you, do not answer any questions about where you are from. And in Illinois, police cannot hold you after processing at the request of ICE. So again, do not drive without a driver's license. You can actually now get a standard driver's license if you live in Illinois. Originally, they were a TVDL, but now you can get the regular license. So if you have not done so, you should do so as soon as possible. Passengers are not required to carry identification with them, so they should not ask you about that. If they do ask you about your immigration status, you can report that at this number because, again, they are not allowed to do that. At school, so there are different laws that protect you in schools. So, on the federal level, we have the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, otherwise known as FERPA. This affords parents the right to have access to their children's education records, the right to seek to have the records amended, and the right to have some control over the disclosure of personally identifiable information. So basically, you can, this gives you the right to how you want to access your children's educational records. And typically, the school is not allowed to share any information without permission from the parents or without a warrant. Similarly, we have the Illinois School Student Records Act. This is a state law. This outlines the rights of parents and students to access and control their school records. So, similarly to FERPA, we have a couple of local school districts here in Lake County that have put out statements about student safety and about everything that is going on with ICE and things of that nature. Some of those school districts include Waukegan Public School, Zion Benton Township High School, District 126, and Warren Township High School. At hospitals, so again, there are different laws that protect your information. So we have HIPAA, which is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So this protects your health information, including your demographic information. So no one can just request your health information without a subpoena or a warrant. Knowing your rights in a church. So churches should make a plan as to how they are going to respond if ICE comes to the church. So in that plan, they should train the workers or volunteers and include an analysis of the church's private and public areas. So again, kind of similarly to what I mentioned in the workplace, ICE cannot go into private areas. So making sure that you understand what a public or private space looks like in your church, and that's going to depend on how the church uses the building, right? So they cannot go into the private areas without a warrant. So church workers and volunteers should know that no one is required to talk to ICE. We recommend that they connect with local immigration advocacy groups and legal resources who can be called upon if needed or just to support. As an observer, you have the right to take a video or a picture of anything that is visible in a public space. If you're taking a video, just make sure that you remember that it is shared to the cloud. Make sure you get the officer's information, such as their name, their badge number, what agency they work for. Make sure you narrate the date, time, and location. Again, do not disclose any personal information about yourself or your loved ones. If you're on private property, however, the owner might have and can have their own rules about videos and pictures. Another important thing to remember is that police officers cannot confiscate or demand to view your videos or photographs without a warrant, and they cannot delete your photos or videos either. So, just some things to go back over. Again, you have the right to not sign anything or provide any documentation without speaking to a lawyer first. Again, do not carry any false documentation. Remember, you have the right to remain silent, and do not disclose any personal information about yourself or your loved ones. So again, this is more so if we were in person. This is kind of the halfway point. These are just some reflection questions. Are there any things that you already knew? Was there something new that you learned? Do you have any questions so far? And just some recap questions about what you should do if you encounter ICE in public and what you should do to prepare yourself and your family. You can share that in the comments if you'd like. Border zones. So we spoke about this a little bit with CBP. So CBP again enforces immigration law near and at the border, including the ports of entry like airports. So there is a law that states that CBP can board vehicles without a warrant to search for people. Um, and they can board these vessels and vehicles anywhere within the 100-mile air border zone, which we can see right here in the map. So, unfortunately, this does allow for them to be able to get on a bus or a train without a warrant anywhere within this zone. And this is where our knowledge is valuable. Um, you should know what to do if you encounter them in public. Police and ICE. This is something that is very important for us to know is how to tell the difference between police and ICE. So ICE usually wears civilian or plain clothing like jeans and a t-shirt, and they usually wear a black bulletproof vest. Sometimes it says police, sometimes it says ICE, but it's on the front and the back. Local police, they have distinct uniforms. So usually they're like tan or blue or black, and they have identifying insignias on the sleeves. And again, if you do have an encounter with any type of officer, document that encounter if you can. Ask them for their name, for their badge number, and what agency they work for. As you can see here, again, what we mentioned before, we have ICE, t-shirt, jeans, black vest. Police, on the other hand, they have their uniform, right? Blue, black, tan, with the emblems and insignias on their uniforms. Vehicles. So for CBP, they have a white truck with the Customs and Border Protection logo on the door. They have Border Patrol on the rear end, and then they have a green stripe. Then we have ICE. ICE looks similar, except instead of Border Patrol, it says Field Operations, and they have a blue stripe. They also have the logo. However, with ICE, sometimes they are not in marked vehicles. And so that is also really important to note. They usually operate in the early mornings. And these are some examples of the kind of vehicles that they drive. They are US made cars. So, like a Ford or Dodge or Chevy. And they're usually black. So these vehicles will often have a normal license plate or they won't have any license plates at all. So they're a little bit hard to spot. They have ultra dark tinted windows like this vehicle. And you can see, if you get close enough, the police railings in the rear passenger area. And something important to note is also that they usually operate in pairs. So this is really important to know what their vehicles look like. So we spoke a little bit about warrants and how ICE needs a warrant to enter into your home or to enter any private area. There's two different kinds of warrants. There's a judicial warrant, which is issued by a court, like the United States District Court, and this does allow them to enter your home. So a judicial warrant will specify the address that needs to be searched. So it will have an address. It will specify the time period in which the search must take place. And it must describe the place or person to be searched and things to be seized. So it usually have your name on it. And it should be signed by a judge or a magistrate. An administrative warrant or an ICE warrant is not signed by a judge, and it does not authorize ICE to enter your home or any place without consent. If they do enter your home with this kind of warrant, state that you don't consent to them entering, don't physically resist, and ask them to leave and state that you do not consent to a search. This is why it is also really important to not open the door, because the moment you open the door, you are allowing them to enter your home. And regardless if they have a judicial warrant or not, they might try and detain you. And here is an example. As you can see, it says United States District Court. Search and seizure warrant. It has the location, Eastern District of California. Make sure you read any attachments to make sure it's regarding you and your address, not someone else's. And here's the date. Date for warrant not to exceed 14 days. So making sure you pay attention to that. And there's a date again. Here it says U.S. Magistrate Judge. This one is signed by a judge. That's how you can tell. And this is the administrative warrant, or ICE warrant. And as you can see at the top, it does not say court, any sort of court. It says Department of Homeland Security, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And as you can see at the bottom, it says signature of immigration officer. It does not say signature of judge. So that's how you can tell the difference. So ICE raids, we have been hearing a lot about ICE raids. So what is an ICE raid? So an ICE raid is a targeted legal operation that ICE performs. So the purpose is to find and arrest people that they believe are here undocumented. So these raids can occur in homes, in workplaces, and even in general public spaces. A raid will usually involve a large number of agents, and usually they occur with no warning. They just show up. And usually they rely on the lack of knowledge that people have to be able to target them, because they may not have the appropriate warrant. And so if people don't know, then people might waive their right to remain silent. And so this is why knowing what to do, knowing that you have these rights, comes into play, because then you cannot be targeted. So what should you do if an ICE raid does happen? Again, this is where you need to know your rights. Your right to remain silent, your right to not sign anything or provide any documentation without help from a judge, from a lawyer first, and ask them for their warrant. If you know people who are the target of raids, contact a trusted immigration lawyer or advocacy group. Gather all the important documents related to the incarcerated person and make copies of that. So if they have immigration documents, make sure that you have those and make copies of those. Your immigration rights include the right to request bond. So a bond is an agreement, usually saying that you can appear later in court. To be eligible, though, you must not be a threat to the public and cannot have committed certain criminal offenses. The cost for this can be around $1,500, although this can be higher or lower depending on the situation. And since April 2023, ICE has provided an online payment system for these bonds. However, the implementation of the Laken Riley Act has expanded the number of people subjected to no bond, mandatory detention. So this kind of changes things in terms of bond and bail, which we'll get into. Speaking of the Laken Riley Act, I think it's really important that we talk about the specific policy. So under this bill, Immigration authorities would require the person to take to take a person into immigration custody after a theft-related arrest or other crime. So this will allow for prolonged detention without access to bail or bond hearing. And even if the judge, the criminal judge, finds them to be of no risk and releases them on bail, they will still be detained. This means that an individual who is stuck in immigration detention will not have the ability to request release, even so to attend their criminal court hearing on the underlying charges. So essentially, this act makes it easy to hold people and to keep them in a detention center. It strengthens the pipeline essentially from being in police custody to being in ICE custody. With all that being said, we again want to connect you all with community resources. Again, because we are Lake County, Illinois based, a lot of these resources are either in Lake County or Chicago. So we have HACES, which is a nonprofit organization located here in Waukegan. They offer lots of different services, legal services, health programs, and citizenship classes. Then we have Mano. Their address is wrong on here. Their address is wrong. I will pop in the right address. So they have different services as well. Immigration legal services, outreach and education. They also have a partnership with Beyond Legal Aid Clinic, who provides legal services. We also have Catholic Charities, who offer a lot of the same legal services for different types of visas as well. They have case management. They also provide the short-term guardianship form that I mentioned earlier that does not require an attorney, just a notary. And so they are one of the organizations you can go to if you are looking for that specific service. Then we have the Chicago Workers Collaborative. They have an office here in Waukegan. They offer, again, a lot of the same legal services as the other organizations. We also have Illinois Workers in Action. They offer Know Your Rights training specifically for labor rights. They also do immigration rights. They have a deportation defense fund, which is, I believe, to support families, to support those who have been deported or have been detained. As well as they offer support for the DALE initiative, which is Deferred Action for Labor Enforcement. So they support with that as well. Then we have the North Suburban Legal Aid Clinic. They provide free immigration legal aid. So anything having to do with citizenship, visas, asylum, and other immigration-related issues. They are in Highland Park. ICER, the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, has a hotline, which is right here. You can call if you need assistance due to detention or to report any suspected ICE sightings. And then lastly, we have the Resurrection Project, Immigrant Justice. They are based in Chicago. They offer workshops on different topics listed here. And they also have their own in-house legal clinic, again, with a lot of the same offerings as the other organizations. And so this was a lot. This was a lot to take in, but we do want to remind you all about self and community care. We must still continue to care for ourselves and for our community despite everything that is happening. So we encourage you to make space to rest and to do things that bring you joy and to connect with others. So the Center for Immigrant Progress will be hosting community check-ins to provide these spaces. So if you want to know more about these, you can follow us on our social media. so you can know when these will be, when we will have these community events. Our upcoming one is going to be on March 20th at 6 p.m. in collaboration with VD Tax Services in Waukegan. So make sure you head on over to our Instagram or our Facebook to see the flyer for that. So with all that being said, we want to provide different resources, different skills to help us cope with all the stuff that is going on. There's different techniques you can use. This one here is one of my favorites. It's called progressive muscle relaxation. So it's a relaxation technique that relieves tension from anxiety and fear. In this exercise, you basically tense up specific muscles and then relax them. So we'll do a quick session right now. But before we get started, make sure that you're aware of any injuries or physical issues that may cause you pain. Minimize any distractions, make yourself comfortable, and avoid practicing this after you've eaten a big meal. And we're going to switch. Actually, give me a sec. This exercise can provide immediate relaxation, but it's best to practice frequently. Pay attention to the feeling of releasing tension in each muscle and the resulting feeling of relaxation. Let's begin. You can sit back or lie down in a comfortable position. Shut your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. Begin by taking a deep breath and noticing the feeling of air filling your lungs. Hold your breath for a few seconds. Release the breath slowly and let the tension leave your body. Take in another deep breath and hold it. Again, slowly release the air. Even slower now. Take another breath. Fill your lungs and hold the air. Slowly release the breath and imagine the feeling of tension leaving your body. Now move your attention to your feet. Begin to tense your feet by curling your toes and the arch of your foot. Hold on to the tension and notice what it feels like. Release the tension in your foot. Notice the new feeling of relaxation. Next, begin to focus on your lower leg. Tense the muscles in your calves, hold them tightly, and pay attention to the feeling of tension. Release the tension from your lower legs. Again, notice the feeling of relaxation. Remember to continue taking deep breaths. Next, tense the muscles of your upper leg and pelvis. You can do this by tightly squeezing your thighs together. Make sure you feel tenseness without going to the point of strain. and release. Feel the tension leave your muscles. Begin to tense your stomach and chest. You can do this by sucking your stomach in. Squeeze harder and hold the tension a little bit longer. Release the tension. Allow your body to go limp. Let yourself notice the feeling of relaxation. Continue taking deep breaths. Breathe in slowly, noticing the air fill your lungs, and hold it. Release the air slowly. Feel it leaving your lungs. Next, tense the muscles in your back by bringing your shoulders together behind you. Hold them tightly. Tense them as hard as you can without straining, and keep holding. Release the tension from your back. Feel the tension slowly leaving your body and the new feeling of relaxation. Notice how different your body feels when you allow it to relax. Tense your arms all the way from your hands to your shoulders. Make a fist and squeeze all the way up your arm. Hold it. Release the tension from your arms and shoulders. Notice the feeling of relaxation in your fingers, hands, arms, and shoulders. Notice how your arms feel limp and at ease. Move up to your neck and your head. Tense your face and your neck by distorting the muscles around your eyes and mouth. Move up to your neck and your head. Tense your face and your neck by distorting the muscles around your eyes and mouth. Release the tension. Again, notice the new feeling of relaxation. Finally, tense your entire body. Tense your feet, legs, stomach, chest, arms, head, and neck. Tense harder without straining. Hold the tension. Now release. Allow your whole body to go limp. Pay attention to the feeling of relaxation and how different it is from the feeling of tension. Begin to wake your body up by slowly moving your muscles. Adjust your arms and legs. Stretch your muscles and open your eyes when you're ready. I hope that practice was relaxing for you. Again, this is something that you want to do as a practice and do it consistently, and it can really help release that tension. So that's going to be it. Thank you all so much for watching. We hope that you learned something, that this was helpful. And if you have any questions, please let us know. Again, make sure to follow us on all our social medias to stay up to date on whenever we will have community events or just updates on the different policies. So, thank you.